Dad's friend Derek was a keen gardener. He only had a small patch to grow on, like all of us on the estate. My dad had planted potatoes and strawberries, easy stuff to grow. We did have an old poplar tree in the middle of the back garden though, so we were more limited. Derek's tastes were tangier. The rhubarb plant is also not so difficult to grow in the tricky climes of the English northwest, but no one else was trying to grow it on our street. Marrows and carrots, yes, but rhubarb? Rhubarb crumble was a popular Sunday dessert, with custard as a matter of course, but no one wanted to eat it more than once a month. And the plant, in all its glorious tumescence, looked like a particularly angry triffid, at least to me and my brothers in the 1980s, scared out of our wits by Doctor Who and the threat of thermonuclear war. We just wanted apples, or did we? Derek and my dad were drinking buddies. Derek was a lorry driver, and my dad was what you would call a shipping clerk. Even though he was qualified in other ways, he wanted a less stressful job and loved to go out for a pint with the lads. Beer is a great leveller and whiskey a troublemaker, but they knew there was fun to be had in making your own wine. My dad had tried it over the years. There was a tradition of poutine making even back where he grew up. They made it out of potato skins, orange peel, anything, like the fuel that powers Marty McFly's DeLorean in Back to the Future. DeLorean was Irish too, so that made perfect sense. If only he had written the screenplay. My dad tried his hand at elderberry wine and nettle wine and dandelion wine, all stuff that grew around our house. I don't know if any of it was any good, because we were too young to drink it then. Meanwhile, Derek told my dad that he had made a wine out of bananas that was so strong it blew a hole in the lavatory. I'm sure that was a line he had picked up in the pub, as they were always trying to outdo each other with quotes. So, between them, they decided to use his purple monsters, his man-eating rhubarbs, as an all-new, super-strong, blow-your-socks-off vino. I got all this information out of my dad much later, as I needed to know why they had used me and my brothers as guinea pigs for their evil experiment that late September day. We were 11 and 12, and my younger brother was 7. We were innocents. But we were also street kids up for anything. I had smoked roll-ups on the corner and had the occasional shandy at Christmas or a wedding champagne. So it wasn't virgin territory. But Derek and my dad needed fresh eyes, or at least an untainted palate, to determine how good their new batch of rhubarb wine really was, because they had been in the pub all afternoon. My mum must have been in the kitchen, as usual, so they rolled in with a couple of bottles of Derek's trademark rhubarb home brew and gathered us kids in the front room. It must have tasted okay, because we all drank a glassful. I like to think now that it was a murky brew with bits of flother floating about in it, yet at the same time as delicious as the ambrosia you hear about in, your. What was not forgotten about by any of us present was the effect. There was dizzy abandon, giddiness, hysteria, and ultimately puking, tears. A right old rollicking for my dad, and a never ever seen again Derek.